Hi, this is Joseph Phillips. In this presentation, we'll examine some approaches to stakeholder management that you'll need to be familiar with for your PGMP examination. First, you'll want to consider your key stakeholders. Of course, there's you as the program manager, but also your program sponsor. If your organization has steering committees that direct program selection and project selection within your program, those are key stakeholders. Any champions of your program, the project managers and project teams within your program, and then of course the end users and the customers. These are all the key stakeholders that can affect the success of your program. Now there are three types of stakeholders. Positive stakeholders, which mean they want your program to happen. Negative stakeholders, which of course mean they don't want your program to happen. And then you have neutral stakeholders. These are stakeholders that really don't care if your program is successful or not. So an example of a neutral stakeholder may be someone in the procurement office in your organization. You have to interact with them, you have to work with them in order to buy or procure resources and services and goods, but they're not really a positive or a negative stakeholder. They're neutral to your project, or your program rather. For all of these, you'll want to address a stakeholder management strategy. It's how will you interact and manage their threats and perceived threats and their influence on your program. Now, one approach of that stakeholder management strategy is to create a power influence grid. A power influence grid is like you see in this example, where each letter represents a stakeholder. And the intersection of high and low for power and influence describes how much power and how much influence they have on your grid. Obviously, the closer you are to high in both categories, power and influence, the more likely you are to manage those stakeholders closely. So for example, look at stakeholder F. They don't have a whole lot of power, nor do they have a whole lot of influence on your program. So while you may keep them informed, you're not going to be concerned about them as much as you are stakeholder G, that has a high amount of power and a high amount of influence in your program. So this has been just a brief overview of preparing to manage the stakeholders in your program. Thank you.